Hey, welcome back. So, we're going to look at buttons and hyperlinks in this next session. So, we'll look at hyperlinks first just because it's slightly quicker to go through, and then we'll look at the buttons. So, you can add hyperlinks or just links in multiple places around the site. We're inside of the website pages at the moment. So, in terms of adding links, we could do it here up in the top navigation, pressing link. Now, this could be anything from adding a donation platform link, or you could add a PDF or another type of document to be able to put that inside of the site. So in this sense, let's just do this. Now, what we're seeing down the bottom here is any links that already exist inside the website. But note they already start with just the slash, because anything that's inside of the website, we don't care what the domain is. It's just going to start slash and then whichever of the page names. So that's the method of which you will go and do it. The reason being is that Squarespace then overwrite the default squarespace.com that you all have been editing the site with, and then they use your public domain over the top of that. And so in that sense, it might be your public domain.com/about is how it's going to go and find it. Also note that this is the new tab has been toggled off. That's because any pages inside of the website are going to have that turned off, but anything going outside, then you can toggle that on. It's quite good practice just to go and do that. So that is our link that we've got up here. But we can also do things like adding a file. So we could then drag and drop our file into here. And then we can do this. And I will I'll keep that turned on just so that someone can open that. It will open it in a new tab. And I'll just, for this demo, just opened it in a new tab. And here is my PDF that I've uploaded. So yeah, just clicking that, left clicking that does it exactly the same with that toggled on. So we've got that one. Then we also have email. So you can do email one of two ways. You could either press that and put the email address in. So we've got that up here. And if that's clicked, then that will just open up the person's email client and then open that with a new email. You wouldn't necessarily put this up in the top navigation. It'd be very odd to do that, but I'm just showing you as a demo for that. And then the final thing is you could do a phone number as well, and then just pop that in, etc. So you've got that. The other, you might have been used to seeing mail to written for email addresses. So you could do this, but it just basically brings you straight to the email editor like that. And similar with tell as well as in opening a phone number. So you've got those. Also with links, you can link from anything inside of whether it's text or buttons or images. So quick access here does this all the same. You can then still reuse anything that you've uploaded and be able to link that, noting I could decide to go and change the text here and basically edit that. Same with buttons, etc., images, they're all linked up with that. Now, talking of buttons, let's have a look at that. So we have 3 different types of buttons that we have available to us. We have and that basically comes in with the style. So we have primary, secondary, and tertiary. So for now, we'll just put them like this, but note they are all the same thing. So why would we want to have them different? The reason being is that they then might have draw more attention to the type of button that it is. So if we turn this one to be an outlined version, Let's just go and do that now. So an outline would say, put it as no fill, as in there's no coloring here. So we've got that with the border around the outside, and we've got it as the same pill shape. The outline, I'm just going to slide that up. So in this example, it's probably quite thin. So I'll put it as 2. In other contexts, you could put it as 1. So let's go and do that. And then this tertiary one, as in the third one. So the style, we could have that as a square one. So why not? Let's just do that. And then obviously all the settings we've been through for that. But in terms of the buttons, you've got 2 different types of functionality. You've got the fill and the fit. And we'll come on to that in a moment. But whilst we're here, it's useful to note around the padding. So essentially, this is the extra padding around the buttons themselves. So what that means is you could increase the left and right. Now, it's actually not, well, it's semi-moving here because you can see that the text is moving, but nothing else is moving. And I think the reason for that is because of the way that we have set these buttons. So this is a great little test. Let's just move these out of the way. Let's double click on this one, press design, and this has been set to fill, which basically says that it will grow as big as the width that I go and give it. So therefore, any other changes that I've made in that padding is going to make 0 difference. But let's just jump this one to be fit. And so what that does is it says fit to the size of the text that is there. And it will basically just stay that same size. So why would you want to use, let's say, the fit over the fill? So you might want to have 2 buttons side by side, exactly the same, doesn't matter the length of the text. So you've got that, and that's where in this example, you might choose to do fill, because then you can have them next door to each other. So let's just do that. We might have learn more and inquire. And then let's just put this using our new hyperlink to the contact page. There we go. So we've got those 2 sitting side by side. But the reason we might want to use the secondary version is because really we're drawing the user's eye to the learn more. And then we might have a secondary as the inquire. Now, actually in this scenario, I wouldn't actually use the outline button on this particular image because it's just really going to struggle to kick through. So we'll just copy those for a second and we will just paste them down here. So then when we're looking at it like this, actually feels far better because it's not competing with the background image. We've got that fitting quite nicely. That's where the eyes gets drawn to, but we're putting this here because this is like an FYI. You could also do this as a secondary action. And so you can pair the 2 quite nicely together. But in terms of then the fit, so let's just pull these out. Let's just get rid of that one a second. And in terms of the fit option, so I'm just going to make it super long. You wouldn't normally write this amount of text in here, but I just want to show you for a demo. So what you've seen is it starts to wrap. But if I pull it out wider, then it actually starts sitting and doesn't wrap. So what you want to do with these buttons, let's say that we did decide to have it left aligned, is that this text, when the browser width gets smaller, this button is going to grow into the size of the box that you give it. The same is true with text as well. So what we're going to do is just actually leave this as wide as it can go. It might seem like a bit silly, the fact that this is super wide, but the smaller the browser width gets, you have basically given it all this massive room to grow into. So it's never going to get to be anything like this and drop onto 2 lines. So that's the first thing to go and note. But we could also have done something about that over in the padding as well. So then here in the padding, let's just go and have a quick look at this. Then we could have done different things with the padding, etc., and started making it and changing the size like this. So it's just being mindful with how you do this and then how it interacts. And especially if you have decided to make this then really small, therefore you're given hardly any room to the button itself. So I just leave this with a natural bit of breathing room around the outside, so it's fairly equal and pleasing. So we've got that. And then, as we said, we've got this third option, so we could use that in different spaces around the site. But those are how we use the buttons, how we can then start to use the primary versus secondary, why you might use a tertiary option. The other thing from a tertiary is you might decide to change the color of that. So the functionality be exactly the same thing, but instead of having just this like black and outlined version, you might have a pop of color in it. And so the way that you might decide to do that is then in the styles themselves, then let's say lightest one, we could then change the color of our backgrounds here. So the style might be exactly the same, but then on your third option, you then say, actually, make that a completely different color. So anyway, that is the buttons, how to go and use it, and the hyperlinks, and then best practices for what to go and do.